These days, it seems like every time we turn around, the price of video games has gone up, with current-gen titles setting us back some serious chunks of change. Naturally, not everyone is able or willing to shell out exorbitant amounts of money for games, and this can often leave studios in a bit of a financial pickle. It's unsurprising then that many video game companies are looking to different business models to rake in that all-important cash. And as time marches ever onward, we're seeing more and more games go free to play. For this list, we're having a look at the games that started out life in the standard way, i.e., pay money, get game, but that have since eschewed the upfront cost in favour of things like season passes and microtransactions. At their core though, all of these games can be played without shelling out a single penny. I'm that one presenter that you can unlock for the low price of $4.99, Ashton from Triple Jump, and here are 10 premium video games that went free to play. Number 10, Fortnite. Here's some fun historical trivia for you. The term Battle Royale has actually been around since the 1700s, where as many as 8 bare-knuckle boxers would fight one another until just one man was left standing. What these men probably didn't realise between punches in the head was that one day, Battle Royale would become synonymous with salty preteens and cringe-worthy dance moves. If you divert your attention away from certain segments of Fortnite's community though, you'll find a very fun Battle Royale title that won't cost you a single cent to play. Fortnite has 3 different gameplay modes, but undoubtedly the most popular is Fortnite Battle Royale, in which 100 players are dropped onto a map and must scavenge for weapons and resources, and ultimately dispatch all other players. Both Battle Royale and Fortnite's creative modes are free to play, and if they're all you're interested in, and you're not particularly into cosmetics, then there's really no advantage to buying V-Bucks, Fortnite's in-game currency. However, if you do like cosmetics or want to play Fortnite Save the World, then you will have to put some real cash into the game. Let's face it though, most people are in it for the Battle Royale. Number 9, Counter-Strike Global Offensive. When it was released all the way back in 2012, Counter-Strike Global Offensive won itself a lot of fans, and remains hugely popular to this very day. Despite being over a decade old, it's still one of the most played games on Steam, which is quite the feat. CSGO is a game of the multiplayer FPS variety, and sees 2 teams of players facing off against each other in various different game modes. Each player is assigned to either terrorist or the counter-terrorists, and generally the former is tasked with, well, terrorist stuff, like planting bombs or keeping hostages, while the latter attempts to stop them from doing those things. Even before CSGO went free to play, it was never the world's most expensive game, retailing for around $15. These days though, you can pick up a copy for no money at all, and still get access to everything the game has to offer. In fact, the only things in CSGO to spend money on are cosmetic items, so unless you're super bothered by not having the coolest looking gun, then you can score yourself hundreds of hours of entertainment without ever having to spend any real-world money. Number 8, Crusader Kings 2. If shooting people with big guns isn't really your thing, but you're still looking for a game that won't leave a big dent in your wallet, then maybe you'd get along well with Crusader Kings 2. The game aims to simulate what it would be like to control and grow your own dynasty in medieval times. Through marriage, war, assassination, and various other methods, players must ensure their dynasties become successful. Though what that looks like is entirely up to them, as the game doesn't define it. The base game can now be downloaded for the very reasonable price of $0 dues, so players can start their own dynasty free of charge. If you do happen to get hooked on Crusader Kings 2, there's a boatload of additional content that can be unlocked for around £250. £250? That's insane! If you'd rather not have to remortgage your house for all of the DLC, it can also be unlocked for the slightly less eye-watering sum of $4.99 per month. The free-to-play version is brilliant in and of itself though, so even if you don't want to trouble yourself with the subscription, you can still have a smashing time building yourself a dynasty to be proud of. Number 7, Rocket League. Do you like cars and football, but the last time you tried to combine them you got banned from your local football club? Well then, you, my friend, need look no further than 2015's Rocket League, a title that brings together nippy vehicles and soccer, all without running the risk of ruining anyone's carefully maintained football pitch. The premise of Rocket League is quite straightforward. Players simply need to drive their little digital cars at the ginormous digital ball, and try to get their ball in the opponent's goal. They can choose to go it alone in a 1v1 match, or team up with some friends or total strangers they find online. Originally, Rocket League could be purchased like a standard video game, but in September 2020, the title became free to play. Of course, the game does contain microtransactions, but these are solely for cosmetic items and won't get players anything that will give them a competitive edge. What this means is that players who don't put any money into the game can have just as good of a time as those who do. You know, as long as your car not having a cool hat isn't a deal breaker for you. Number 6, Destiny 2. When Destiny 2 was first released in 2017, it was quite a pricey title, setting gamers back anywhere up to $60, which to most people is no small sum. Thankfully, the days where you'd need to sell your kidneys to get in on the Destiny 2 action are long gone, as the game became free to play in 2019. Now, admittedly, there are parts of the game that can't be accessed unless you're willing to part with some of your hard-earned dough, but there is still a great deal of Destiny 2's content that can be accessed free of charge. Cash-strapped players can make their way through the entirety of the game's main story, which sees their character, a Guardian, embarking on a number of quests in order to protect Earth's last safe city from hostile alien forces. Players can also access Destiny 2's various multiplayer modes for free, and can band together with their pals to take on raids or try their luck in the PvP arenas. If you're worried that Bungie isn't making much dosh off the game, don't be, because not only are most of the DLCs locked behind paywalls, but the game is also chock full of microtransactions. I suppose they've got to keep the lights on somehow. Number 5, Fall Guys. If you've ever sat and watched the likes of Takeshi's Castle or Total Wipeout and thought, wow, these shows sure would make for an interesting video game, then oh boy, or girl, or other, do we have a recommendation for you. The gameplay in Fall Guys is pretty easy to get your head around. 60 players start a match, and only one can be crowned the winner. The rest are all eliminated across several minigames, many of which involve traversing an obstacle course. Each little jellybean-like character has identical stats, so victory is earned through a combination of skill and sheer dumb luck. From the word go, Fall Guys is a completely chaotic experience, with players literally tripping over each other, as well as many moving obstacles, to try to secure themselves the win. If you like garishly bright colours, cute squishy characters, and utter pandemonium, then you'll absolutely love Fall Guys. When it launched on PC and PS4 in 2020, Fall Guys cost players real cash money, but when it was released on Xbox One, Series, PS5 and Switch in June 2022, it became free to play. The game is now monetized through microtransactions, which allow players to purchase costumes and other cosmetic items. Number 4, Halo Infinite. Now, before anyone starts, we know that the multiplayer portion of Halo Infinite has been free to play since launch, so the game itself hasn't ever been premium. However, the multiplayer in the series' previous installments has always cost players money, so although Infinite multiplayer hasn't gone free to play, Halo multiplayer has, and therefore, we think the game deserves a spot on this list. Players who splash out for the full game get to join Master Chief once again, and on this occasion, he finds himself fighting the Banished, a mercenary organisation that splintered off from the Covenant. If your wallet's feeling a little light, then sadly, you won't get to play the single-player campaign, but what you can do is get in on Halo Infinite's multiplayer. For the low price of absolutely nothing, players can enjoy a number of different multiplayer modes, including Capture the Flag and Deathmatch, in teams of anywhere up to 12 players. Naturally, the game is supplemented with microtransactions, and players can pay for battle passes if they wish. As is often the case though, there's no competitive edge to be gained from doing so. You might just get a cool new coating for your armour. Number 3, Team Fortress 2. Whenever anyone talks about the orange box, they tend to go on and on about how wonderful Half-Life 2 is, or how surprised they were at how good Portal turned out to be. And so often, poor Team Fortress 2 ends up as an afterthought. Sure, it's probably the weakest of the games in the bundle, but it's still a blooming brilliant title, and we think it's about high time it got the love it deserves. Developed and published by Valve, and first released in 2007, both standalone and as part of the aforementioned orange box, TF2 is a multiplayer title of the first-person shooter Persuasion. Players get to choose from a whopping 9 different character classes, before being plonked down in one of the game's many maps in order to complete the objective. What the objective is depends on which mode you've chosen. And with 5 core modes and a whole bunch more alternative modes, there's bound to be something in there that you'll enjoy. TF2 has been free to play since 2011, with its very existence supported by, you guessed it, microtransactions. But although said microtransactions can earn you some very nice cosmetic items, you can have just as much fun without them. Number 2, StarCraft 2. Although StarCraft 2's first release, Wings of Liberty, launched all the way back in 2010, the game still has a huge number of fans, and that is undoubtedly thanks, in part at least, to Blizzard's decision to make much of it free to play. Indeed, since 2017, fans of sci-fi real-time strategy have been able to play the game's multiplayer and the first story campaign, Wings of Liberty, without having to pay a single penny for the privilege. In terms of Wings of Liberty's story, players can expect to join protagonist Jim Raynor as he leads an insurgent group to overthrow the Emperor of the tyrannical Dominion. The campaign is made up of nearly 30 different missions, so even if you don't feel like splashing out for the expansions, you'll still have plenty of stuff to keep you busy. If you do complete the single-player campaign, there's still the multiplayer you can get stuck into. You can choose to compete with your friends in the versus mode, or team up with them to take on co-op missions. Whichever way you look at it, StarCraft 2 offers players a metric flip-ton of content, and all without costing them any money at all. A bargain if there ever was one. And number 1, Star Wars: The Old Republic. If you're a fan of Stars, Wars and Old Republics, exclusively in that order, then you'll be pleased to hear that you can play MMORPG Star Wars: The Old Republic totally free. When it launched in 2011, Star Wars: The Old Republic used a similar subscription model to other MMOs. Within the first few days of its release, the game accrued over 1 million players, but sadly, this success didn't last for long, and in the following months, many players ended up cancelling their subscriptions. This is nothing the game did wrong, it's just a sad fact of being an MMO that, although you might be quite successful to begin with, players will eventually lose interest. Did BioWare and EA let that stop them? No, of course not. In 2012, the game was made free to play, and so players could experience all of the fun without having to shell out for a monthly subscription. Naturally, the available features are limited, so if you want to play beyond level 60, access all content, and maximise your resources and crew skills, you'll need a subscription. The free version of the game still has tons of content though, so even if you don't feel like paying, that galaxy far, far away will still keep you occupied for many, many moons. Hang on a minute, that's no moon.